it too messed up on you. You don't want the blur. You don't want this yellow line coming too far away from the body. You want to keep it tight and just save as much as you can. And just basically keep playing with it until you get as much as you can. See, I want to try to get this in here, so even if it means losing some of the other details. So 10, 12, if I can get it in there, probably not. Okay, not in that particular frame, so let's go back to 9. Alright, turn my blur level off and see how that looks. Nope, I don't. It's a little bit too raggedy, so let's go back up to 2. Alright, possibly keep it like that. Once you get it as tight to the body as possible, just go ahead and click OK. And then basically, let me just pause this until it comes back. Okay, now it's got my, it masked everything off, basically, created a new layer, did all my masks. Now for the tree stuff over here, it's pretty simple. Let's turn off the bottom layer because we really don't need that anymore. That was just a temp deal. All we need is the masks right now, so we can basically turn that off. And to see things better, I'm going to go ahead and create another layer, new, another solid, make it a black one, click OK, and we'll put it underneath that just so we can see it better. Now make sure you're selected in the new layer, the auto trace layer. Go ahead and if you have any leaves like I do, just go ahead and run a quick mask around it just to get all that garbage. Then expand your layer, expand the masks, and it's going to be the bottom one, the lowest one in the thing, and we're going to choose subtract to get rid of those. Now choose my arrow to get click out of that. Let's turn off the mask temporarily, which is here, and basically we can see we have a decent looking alpha mat right there just from doing that. It's not too bad considering where it was. Okay, now that's basically all we need for a run trail anyway. We can try cleaning up some of these edges here. Let's try to get to where we have a rough edge there. Okay, now what we want to do is see all our masks. We want to left click on the first one, go down to the bottom one, and all the ones that we're creating in auto trace are going to be a difference type. So we don't want to do the one that we just made. We only want to do the ones that were made in a difference or in the auto trace. So hold your shift key down and click the last one in the list. This way they all get selected. Then expand any one of them by hitting the little arrow. It'll kind of expand them. Now don't click anything because you want them. We have them all selected now. So what we're going to do is adjust the feather and the expansion. And if we do it to one of these, they're all going to be adjusted as long as you don't click in something else and deselect them all. So with them all selected, we're going to add a feather of 3 to it. Don't want to do that. We got to try to do this manually. I'm going to go feather of 3. Now mass expansion minus just a little bit, just until we try to tighten it up a little bit. There we go. So 3 seems to be a good feather for stuff like this. Okay, so we did this, and don't worry about, you'll notice it pulls it in the bottom and the tops, of course, because you're shrinking your mask. If you don't really want to deal with that, then just leave it the size it is. But if you don't mind cropping it later, most people crop their footage or their movie anyway when they're done with it. They clean up their edges a little bit better to hide things and stuff. So there's nothing really wrong with that. You can either do it this way, crop it, or or just go ahead and leave it. Okay, let's see how that looks. Yeah, that looks definitely better because we kind of want it a little bit smaller anyway than the original body is. Okay, so now we got that. Let's go ahead and turn that. Now we're going to bring in what we can do with it. That's basically how you create the alpha mat right there. Okay, we created it. See, we have an alpha mat right there. Now what we want to do is go ahead and bring our footage in just so we can test it out. See, so we can see how it looks on there. And we kind of want it a little bit smaller, if anything. Kind of, it helps to be smaller than bigger for a run trail anyways. Okay, that all looks good. Alright, now what we can do is take our masks, click on your auto trace layer, take our mask, just left click on it, choose copy. Okay, now we're gonna make sure you're on 0 on the timeline when you do all this. Click on your footage and click paste. Now it's going to paste all those masks. So there, see, we can turn off our mask layer now. And now it basically created the mask on our footage. So now we just have the subject running. And that's what we want when we're going to be doing our run trail. Don't worry about the edges. That's not a big deal for a run trail. Okay, now that we actually have the footage here, we can go ahead and play with the mask again if we want to, which you could have done in the first place. Just waited till you brought it over to the footage, just so you can see what's going on better. Let's expand them again. Let's try bringing down the feather. See, the 3 always seems to be good. Maybe even, oh, 1 on 1. Yeah, 3. Okay, and just try to bring it down to where it's, you know, just tight up against the subject. Like that. That's probably good right there. Okay, we just want to try to keep as much as the background out of it as possible without losing too much of the body. Okay, let's put those. Now, the only thing I have highlighted in here now is the footage that we masked off. So let's go ahead and grab another footage, put it underneath. Okay, so now that's under, the original footage is underneath, which is right there. The top one is our one that we masked off, which is that one. Okay, now this is the one we add our effects to. So with that selected, go to Effect to give it a test. Go to Time and Echo. Now we can go ahead and just add an echo to this. Going to add an echo, change it to echo operator front. Okay, and I usually decay it a little bit on the edge there. Just decay. That's good. Okay. Now, let's go ahead and go back to project. While we're working in this, we can set this to 8-bit. Just so, you know, it runs a little bit faster and smoother and everything. Okay, so we got that. Let's turn off this so we can work with it a little bit better. Good. Okay, that's good. Now, sometimes I usually like to go to Stylize. We're going to go to Fine Edges and invert the edges. Okay, so they, you know, it kind of does that. Now let's turn back on our original footage. Let's turn that to an add blend. So we get our, you know, we get the run trail there. Good. Okay, now we have to hide, what we're going to do is take the auto trace layer that we made before and use that to kind of cover, put over the run trail in the front of us. So we're going to go to the layer that we added the effect to, the echo effect to. We're going to choose the track mate, and not that one, alpha inverted. Okay, now it's using this to cover up the effect so it doesn't come over this part of the footage here. Okay, so that's basically it for there. Now we have the footage behind us. Now you can do whatever you want with the footage, or the effect footage. What I usually do for the effect footage, which is this one, the second layer now, you can do lots of stuff with it. You can add a blur, possibly a fast blur to it to kind of soften it up a little bit. Maybe a blur of 1, just to kind of help the edges so they're not so sharp. That's one thing. And I also like to add a distort. Go to Effect, Distort, Turbulence, Displace. I like to add a turbulence displace to it. Change the size to something small. Change the amount to 100 to start. And go up on the size just until you get some kind of a wiggle on it. Not too sharp of a wiggle, but you know.